Ed Sherlock here on Light 94.3 and AM 1190 WSDE, Cobleskill, Schoharie County and Beyond Radio. We have with us Laura Matson Hahn, and let me upstage this here. She's going to be at the Hive in Schoharie on Main Street. That's Teresa's place on Saturday, May the 14th, basically all day. And there's a reason she's going to be there. Laura, first of all, good to talk to you today.
Thank you very much, Ed. It's a great pleasure.
You, after earning a BA in Literature Performance and MA in Communications, you built your career, basically, which took you around the world as a communications strategist. That means you're a good talker. And 20 years later, she kind of like did an about-face, switch gears, and she started writing for periodicals and teaching creative writing, and began a lifelong project, writing a novel that reflected her belief in true living and one's heart. Now, you have written this book, which you will have on display May 14th at Teresa's place, the Hive in Schoharie. And yes. I'll lead you into this way. Then you can run with it. Two kinds of folks: those who define themselves by others, and those who sought their own truth. And you, of course, are drawn toward the latter. Search your own truth. And you were also talking about ages 7 to 11 and ages 7 to 77. Laura, can you expound on that?
Sure. Well, you get this wonderful time frame between 7 and 11 in which you're at the age of reason and you're before the age of what I call conformity. In other words, the hormones come in. And in that little window of time, it's a great gift because most people tend to do what they love to do. Most kids do what they love to do. And in my book, The Heart Code, it's explained like this. What do you like to do when you finished all your chores, when you finished your homework, and whether anybody else wants to do it with you or not? What is that thing you like to do? And most kids can answer it straight out of the gate. And that to me is the truth inside of you. And it's a feeling that oh, I love to do this. And for me, it was sewing and crafts and things like that. For other people, it's being outside and having adventures. Other people, it's playing with blocks or Legos or whatever it may happen to be, some more science-oriented. But whatever it is, it's very true to you, and nobody has to tell you that you love that. So the idea that, okay, we know that between 7 and 11, and then life gets pretty distracting. So how do you figure out what is it, that thing you love? How do you know something that's right for you? How do you know when your heart is speaking to you and you're in your own code? And what I say is you go back and remember that time and that thing you most loved and the feeling that you had with that thing. That feeling never changes. The activity will change. But how that next activity that still rings true for your heart, the feeling is the same. And that when people get more and more practice, if they are out of practice listening to their heart, they can pretty much use that as that resonance within you, that yes within your heart, that if you can get back to that, you're then going to walk your true path, not somebody else's path, your true path. And I think that, like the original Bohemians that are featured in my book, that you follow your own drummer, that is the path to contentedness as opposed to one of discontent or one of malcontent.
And unfortunately, Laura, some people never find themselves.
Well, they don't because they're paying too much attention to other people's desires. I mean, I'll tell you, Ed, first of all, you have this wonderful radio voice on top of it. Now, if we had more time, I'd ask you, how did you find the radio?
I'll tell you.
Things that led that to it?
I'll tell you.
Yes.
In this age, I was playing records in my bedroom.
There you go. See, it's true. And you kept following, some people say it's following your nose, some people say it's following your instinct. I very much believe from the research that I've done on the actual science of the heart's intelligence separate from the brain, which is what inspired my novel. And then coming around and writing the novel and coming across a character that is actually Bohemian born, I was able to put it all together and say, okay, so I've got a basis for explaining the modern day science of following your heart that goes all the way back to a very ancient and yet iconic culture that we still have the same feeling about today as were the original people 3000 BC. Following your own drummer, to be able to live the life that was meant perfectly to you. And one other thing on that, you and I, we are 99.99% the same in our DNA. So really, the only thing that makes us distinctive and unique in our life is our path. Isn't it so much better to walk your own path with all the triumphs and all the tribulations? It's yours, and that's what makes one unique.
I love that the book. It's called The Heart Code, and you're saying there's, of course, the heart's intelligence. So it would be safe to assume, sort of, that if you, a young man or young woman, age 7 to 11 in that area, if you like to spend a lot of time with mom, helping her cook in the kitchen, something's going on here, right, Laura?
Yes, it's pay attention. Really, for parents, it's really, they should be paying attention to what their kids naturally love and just keep throwing at them until they say, okay, now their interest has gone in a different direction. But paying attention to your kids is job number one for a parent. But that job also applies to yourself and what resonates true for you. So this idea of a heart's code, it applies to everyone, absolutely everyone. And some little kids come out and at 2, they're singing, they know, they just have this instinct, and that's the thing that they're going to do. I know a young girl who, by 2 years old, her mother was a famous singer, and at 2 years old, the child says, sing more, no more, mommy, I sing now, and she went on and also had the gift of the voice, but she knew that. We're not all lucky like that, but we all have things that we are naturally gravitate to, and it rings in the heart. It rings true in the heart. And one other thing, all the memories you have in your brain, 100% of those memories are also stored in your heart. So that when a person has a heart transplant and you receive somebody else's heart, you're getting all their memories. And 10% of those people who receive new hearts admit to having completely different interests, tastes, passions. The stories are startling, but it's kind of a reminder of, if you don't listen to your heart, it's a good question. If somebody got your heart, what would they know about you?
They're validating this?
Yes, this is all great science that started in the 80s with recognizing the intelligence of the cell, and it evolved from there and evolved from there, and they now, there's a whole group called the Heart Math Institute in Boulder City, I think, California. But they've been doing great work. I was inspired by this book that's of a similar name called The Heart's *S Code. My fiction is called The Heart Code, but this was The Heart's Code, and it was by Paul Parcell. That he was a psychologist and psychotherapist, and he worked with heart transplant patients, and he put together the book that reflected all of the research in the 90s. It has progressed beyond that, documenting the intelligence of the heart separate from the brain. The heart begins to beat on the 22nd day, 180 days before the brain is fully formed. Brain has nothing to do with the heart. You can be brain dead and your heart can still go.
Our guest is Laura Matson Hahn. She has written a book called The Heart Code, Science and Novel, and she's going to be there being the Hive located in Schoharie, New York, on Main Street. It's Teresa's basic official season opening day on May the 14th. That's a Saturday, all day. I'm going to tell you this because I believe this. Laura, I believe that everyone is a genius. The only problem is some people never find out what it's in.
I agree, and I'm here to tell you, my work is all about helping people be who they are, find who they are, and live who they are.
Well, you're going to have books with you.
Yes, I will. And Teresa has them at the store right now.
If someone can't make it to the store, if someone can't, buy them from Teresa or so on and so forth, or can't make it that day on May the 14th, how can they find your book? Where is your book available?
My book is available on Amazon, both in print and in Kindle, but you can also contact me via the website, and that's theheartcode.com.
Thank God, an easy one. The Heart Code, theheartcode.com, and it's
Correct.
Laura Matson Hahn. Very interesting. Last question. I'm sure you've had some feedback from the medical community.
No, I haven't had feedback from the medical community in terms of any kind of negative. I'm not writing about the science in it. I have translated the science into a story to make and confirm what many people instinctively believe, and have fantastic characters, and it's a great story that goes from Connecticut in 1930 to actual Bohemia, which was a country back in until 1919, and then back to Connecticut and New York, and it's during 1930, 1934. You meet actual people who lived in the day and get a whole sense of that culture, while a grandmother is helping her only granddaughter to understand what the Bohemian way is, which is really the same thing as the Heart Code.
Well, like you say, it's iconic stature for centuries, the word Bohemian. So basically, you want to see her and talk to her and purchase the book. Laura Matson Hahn. The book is called The Heart Code, Science and Novel, and you'll find her on the internet, theheartcode.com, theheartcode.com. Laura, is it an easy read?
It is. I've been told that by dozens and dozens of people that, and another person, a radio person, he said he just flipped it open. He goes, wow, this is really easy to read. And every chapter is like a short story unto itself and leaves you kind of a little cliffhanger. So you got to watch it. You might, if you need a good night's sleep, you might not want to pick it up that night, because it can keep you up all night, I've been told.
You're not going to sleep. Okay. Well, you know what? You'll be at the Hive in Schoharie on Main Street on May the 14th, basically all day. That is Teresa's official opening day for the 2016 year. And Laura, want to thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much, Ed.